court work, but his activism for the environment, the law firm Kiiza and Mujisha, his co-founder. Advocates, we know him earlier for the environmental shield that he also has been presiding over. And a member of the legal fraternity, the Law Society of Uganda, the Law Society of East Africa. Eron, you are welcome. Say hello to our viewers.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers of Family TV. It's a big pleasure to be part of this panel, to be interacting with you this evening. Family is a basic unit of society, and rule of law, which we are here to discuss, is a very big topic, but very essential and the very lifeblood of a civilized democratic society that is orderly, that is well-led, that is developmental, and I hope that we do not negate its core elements as we swim in the waters of this electoral process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and both of you are welcome, and I really am grateful for the people who come to the show at this hour especially. We don't take it for granted that you give us your time, but also the viewers who stay with us. Another of the guests we expect, who has told me he's on his way, is also another lawyer, colleague in the profession, who is also a journalist, and he prefers to be called a political observer. He's Charles Odongotho. He has been also a talk show host, and so we'll see him later. But for now, I want us to delve into our topic. Tonight, we want to talk about law and order during elections, particularly the Ugandan context. And we have had different voices about this. Some of them say it is the rule of law. Some say it is the rule by law. And even somebody was introducing another one, that it is the rule for law. And I said, okay, I am getting lost in this. But we want to take your views, your opinions, your experiences. Nakuya, you have participated in the elections before. You are participating in the election again. Now you come as part of the Democratic Front.
Exactly.
But you've been a councillor for youth. You attempted to be woman MP. Now, when you look at the conduct of the institutions and individuals who are supposed to keep law and order during the election process, how would you speak about them?
Yeah, I want to thank you, and it's really a hard topic to discuss, but we will tackle it as it comes. One, I would love to say the Democratic Front did not front a presidential candidate, and some of the reasons were purely clear as to why it did not front a presidential candidate. Us believing, and maybe Ugandans who are watching will believe with us, that the presidential election in the current regime is just a cult, and it's a pass of time. It has lost credibility, and what's making it lose credibility is the fact that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is merely appointed, and the part of the appointing authority is a presidential candidate. And you know, the Constitution says that in the execution of the Electoral Commission duties, it should be independent. It should not be subjected to any other person's opinion or work on the commands of any other person. But here we are let me say the Electoral Commission is fully appointed, because if the chairperson is merely appointed, then the secretary will work in line with the chairperson. So if you tell me that the president is appointing you, so who is going to give you the orders? Who is the absolute person that you're paying loyalty to? Will it be the Ugandans or the person who appointed you? Can we get a way out of how Ugandans can get out of this charm and shine as a country and be participants in knowing who can be the right person to preside over presidential elections and the entire electoral process of this country? Is it really vivid that one man should eat the show and say, I'm appointing so and so for this role? Because it's a crucial thing. You cannot be a beneficiary of something. Already there is a conflict of interest. You can't be a beneficiary and at the same time you're the appointing authority.
It's within the law.
Yeah, it's within the law, but we needed electoral reforms before. You know, the whole Right Honorable Mpuga fronted this before Parliament, though it was not debated at all.
So it's still within the law?
Yeah, it is, but we needed them. And this is where I feel as the opposition we went wrong. Before us engaging in this sham, we had to first sit and fight for the electoral reforms so that we go into something with clear hands. We go into an election that is having an independent electoral commission that is going to man this election. But provided we do not have that, it's already a sham. It's already just passing time.
All right, but you see, Nakuya, and I will come to Eron from a legal perspective. But you see, the election is within the electoral laws.
Yes, it is.
From your perspective, you said there were supposed to be reforms. Reforms didn't happen. So if reforms didn't happen, then there's nothing illegal. It's rule of law, isn't it?
I'll go back to what you said. Rule of law, rule of the law, rule by the law. There, council will guide us well. Because it all comes back to the Constitution, which gives the people their right, their mandate, which says that power belongs to the people who shall practice their sovereignty in accordance with this Constitution. Anything that takes away the power of the people, which is given to them by the Constitution, becomes illegal. Because we all pay absolute loyalty to the Constitution of the country. If the Constitution says that the Electoral Commission shall be independent, and even the Electoral Commission Act says it, that it shall be independent, it shall not work on the orders of anyone, it's not subjected to any person or any authority. And if we are in an election and we are seeing one authority influencing the Electoral Commission itself, then the election becomes a scam. It becomes a ritual that after 5 years we have to do it. Irrespective of how Dr. Kiiza was treated in the previous election. From 2011, when his car was hit and sprayed, his face was fully sprayed. The Electoral Commission couldn't come out to say, please, this is not what we want to see in an election. It stays silent. You mean it was not saying that? Is that how the country should move? Does that portray independence of the Electoral Commission? Don't you agree with me that at a certain level and a point in time, the Electoral Commission is infiltrated by other people?
And that's where I'm going to Eron. Eron, you are a lawyer and you are an activist. The laws didn't change. We still have the same laws. We went to Parliament, whoever went, and it was unsuccessful. Does that make it illegal?
No, but of course there is a difference between whether it is illegal or whether it is congruent with the rule of law.
Congruent meaning so that it's easy for my viewer. I don't
whether
want to lose them.
Whether it aligns with the rule of law.
Okay.
Whether it gives with the rule of law. Because the rule of law, in the simplest terms, means that the people abide for the same law and they are treated equally under the law, but it has a more detailed meaning. It is into core elements. One of them is that there should be an independent judiciary. It is questionable whether that box is ticked in Uganda, highly questionable. One of them is that there should be respect for fundamental human rights. The other one is that the laws should be publicly enacted and they should apply in future, not retrospectively, and that the country respects its international obligations, basically international law, and that there is access to justice for the common person. So when you talk about rule of law in it, you strip its core fundamentals, you find that there is a lot lacking, although we have many laws. We have never lacked laws. We even have generally good laws. Some are bad, but generally speaking, we have good laws. But rule of law asks a question beyond saying whether we have law. No. It goes beyond and asks a qualitative question. One, what is the quality of the laws? Do they align? Are they compliant with fundamental human rights, with justice? And are the people who enforce those laws, specifically the judiciary who interpret those laws, are they independent-minded? Does the country heed its international obligations? Are vulnerable people from Kabaramaido able to access law without or with limited financial, physical, and other barriers? When you apply the current electoral process and Uganda's legal system generally to that standard of rule of law, you find that it scores very badly. Its score is so low that you would be hard pressed to say that we are following rule of law in Uganda. But yes, there is rule by law because laws are there, but it's not enough to have laws. It's not enough. We must have laws that advance justice, and we must all of us be able to follow those laws so that public officials do not rely on their whims, do not rely on their mood and opinion, but they should, or discretion, they rely on the law itself to do things. I hope I answer you.
Yeah, but you see,
on the conceptualization of the
absolutely,
yes.
And you see, that's the conceptualization. But in your conceptualization, you say that the score is poor.
Yes.
And I must tell the viewers that Charles Odongotho, whom I promised was on the way, has come. And I said, in addition to being a journalist, he's a lawyer and a political observer. So we shall be going to him. Charles, you are very welcome.
Thank you.
And you see,
sincerely apologize.
No, we understand.
Apologies accepted.
Yeah. and you told
It's not good.
and you told me not to say why you are late, but it's a very legitimate reason. and so you found us, really starting off to conceptualize the application, the way it is done, it is being, done now in relation to the elections, the rule of law. And I was saying that some people have said it is rule by law. Others say, yeah, it's rule of law. I have even had another one say it's rule for law. And I said, okay, these are different things, but we have people in studio who will break it down. Kiiza, you said that the score is low. Actually, low, I think I've been generous. You said it's very low. Why?
Yes, because now I will get out from the conceptual and go to specifics. It is more than 5 years when almost a third of Bobi Wine's campaign team was arrested in Kalangala. A good number of them are still in prison. Some of them I went to prison, found them and left them there. They have never had a single day in court. That's not the rule of law. That's just arbitrariness and impunity playing out. You have Museveni's chief political rival, historically, Besigye, and his friend, Rutare. They are still in prison. Their trial has never started.
But that is not about the elections.
No, but what if they wanted to participate? You get me? When you behave like Suruhu, and you lock your primary opponents in prison, you can't say they are not candidates because you have denied them the very opportunity of being candidates and of being able to participate effectively in an electoral process. But then, even now, we continually get people who are being arrested. Bob and Nicholas have just returned to Kenya because the civil society in Kenya has some President Uhuru Kenyatta they can persuade to call the CDF to release them. The Ugandans, Sam Mugumya was trying to contest in Rukunjiri municipality. He was even there before the Kenyans. They left him there. The judiciary is not able to order his release. We have advocated, the lawyers are not able to help. And that's one of the signs. When you see the institutions of state and the professionals are not able to do their work effectively, then it negates rule of law. We have a lot of militarism. That is the antithesis, the opposite of rule of law. When you have drones still moving around, picking Ugandans in an electoral process, when you have people in Chiruhura, in Barara, there is some people who have been arraigned in Abimu today. If you have ever seen people studying under a tree, now today we saw a classroom, a court, and do you know a poor chibanda, a Ramushakuro de chibanda? I will show it to you after here. So that is the court in Abim where no supporters have been arraigned before a makeshift court. So we shouldn't be having people of NRM treated differently from people of NOP, of PFF, of Democratic Front, of DP. We need a level playing field. It's not there. That's a good example of showing that the rule of law is not playing itself out in the current electoral process. We also see like some presidential candidates being weeded out unfairly. For example, Akena. The system of nomination has now become jumbled up, mambo jumbo.
No, but Akena's case really was divided by court. Because we have court decisions about Akena's situation.
What I'm saying, courts can be used. Already courts are being used to harass. No, it's not that. That's rule of law. When you use courts to, there is what they call judicial harassment. That's not rule of law. Or political persecution, which is what we are using. So a dictator can muzzle, can compromise institution of the state and stage a masquerade that it is not the dictator, but it is police. It's not the dictator, but it's a court. It's not the dictator, but it's the electoral commission. When in truth, it is a dictator that is calling all the shots.
Okay, so Odongotho, you have had your colleague speaking. You unfortunately you came when you didn't hear Nakuya, but you will hear what she said. Now, Eron has brought examples, you know, but it is said by the authorities also, especially the people who are responsible for law and order, that when there is it's election time and you are in the opposition, you seem then to have license to break the law, and every time the law enforcers come after you, you then claim that it is because you are opposition. So from your observation as a political observer, is there nothing wrong that the opposition people are doing, and therefore they must not be touched at all?
Thank you, Richard, and thanks to my colleagues and on the show. That's an interesting question, except it's only interesting to the extent that it's really a dissection or the balance between we are trying to balance the politics, the reality of politics, vis-a-vis the dictates of the law. Like Council Eron has, I think he ably did justice to the explanation of what the rule of law is. Let me start from the back end. The back end of it is that when you sit in law class or you sit in any training that teaches you what the rule of law is, you are mandated to completely agree with Eron, to the extent that it doesn't suppose that anybody should be shifting the goalpost. That now that this is the rule of law, a system of legal rights and duties and responsibilities that accrue or abide to everybody, and therefore when it is an election, you should move the goalpost and then say, now during an election it plays like this. No, it shouldn't be that way. And to that extent, I entirely agree with Eron. Now, I don't want to be mistaken to be apologizing for wrong, because the rule of law is supposed to apply to everybody. There is supposed to be transparency. It's supposed to serve everybody. It's supposed to be publicly known. The standards are supposed to be known. That's why even when the promulgation, in our case, when we did the promulgation, was it 89 to 94, giving rise to the 1995 constitution that we have currently, that it was publicly known. The CA delegates were elected, they were prepared, the public was prepared, then they debated every enactment and they came up with the standards, at what we call the grand norm, the constitution, that this is what is supposed to guide all of us. And in our system, it brought us up to especially Article 2, which says the constitution is the most supreme. So all these other laws are supposed to then support that constitutional standard. Now, you are not supposed to go against them in any of the situations unless you can explain it legally. Now, that is where the problem begins. Now, you are balancing all those standards with a practice that has no known, and worldwide, by the way, no known, can I call it a system? Can I call it a standard? Or quality? That is politics. And you see, they always say, there is politics and then there is real politic. The one with IK at the end. That once you have entered that arena, someone says, Trump can do this and it is okay during an election. But you ask yourself, is it really okay? You come back here, one of the ingredients of our electoral law is that you are not supposed to do fundraising, and you are not supposed to have a certain level of advantage, unneeded advantage over the others. So when you go to court, like the 2016 election, you remember one of the things that was, one of the areas that was canvassed was whether candidate President Museveni, whether he was going against the electoral law by giving hose during a period leading to election or during an election. And you saw the funny ruling, for me I considered it funny, of the Supreme Court, that was ordinarily. Then when you ask, what about the many vehicles in the convoy, the court will say, no, those are ordinarily attached to him as a president. But he's also a candidate. Now that is politics, you see. And it is a very hard area now to navigate. And for me, that is where now the balance becomes hard. Now, there is someone called the referee, the Electoral Commission, during an election. And the question is, keeping election order is the rule, or is the rule of law being followed? And Council Eron says, no, this is ruled by law. For me, during an election, I tend to now go back to the referee. The referee, that is the EC, and the good thing right now, we have no less than a judge, okay, of the courts of judicature. Is the chairman, is High Court judge, or he was at a level, had he been taken to Court of Appeal, or is High Court? I think High Court. Now, at that level, you expect him to ensure that the highest standard of the rule of law, as far as elections are concerned, are followed to the letter, so that Council Eron does not have the excuse to call what is going on rule by law. For me, that, and for me, the person or the system or the structure in this case that I now blame is Electoral Commission. And most of these questions we should be asking Electoral Commission. Why is it that if candidate Bobby Wine is saying, I am moving with my public address system to the venue, I am on the way to my venue which you designated, and that police is being accused of confiscating it, why must Electoral Commission keep quiet and not come in to call police to order? Because at that, during an election, the Electoral Commission is the one in charge. Police are supposed to take orders from Electoral Commission. Now, you can argue, police can argue and say, no, Charles, you are mistaken or you are wrong in your analysis because they have gone into, maybe if there is accusation of committing an offense. But for me, both as a lawyer and a political observer, analyst, what I can say is that, look, by the way, in homes, you know, in homes, people fight. There are people who have bad manners and they fight. Sometimes they cut each other's faces. Sometimes, now, that can be assault. It can even be threatening violence. By the way, it can even, people fight and they cut each other, which can even be attempted murder. But hey, look here. When you go in police, there is the, what do they call it? The family unit. And when a wife and a husband go there, sometimes they negotiate. They will say, no, sorry, this was bad. Please don't do this. You are, you know, blah, 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 blah. So why can't Electoral Commission, in this case, acting like the family police, say, police, in an election, a candidate is allowed
to break the law?
No, not to break the law. A candidate is allowed to move with his public address system because he will not hire in all the places, because in some places, in some of maybe in a part of Nebi, you might not find the public address system readily available. So that arbitration is supposed to be the role of Electoral Commission. And for me, I think to say that every omission or commission that happens in an election to be labeled as criminal, to that extent that you must say police intervene in every action during an election, I think is where now we should be discussing. Was it in the guideline?
No, but Charles,
If it was not there, Electoral Commission, are you responsible for arbitrating?
No, you have made your point, Charles. You have made your point. You see, in the things you said, you talked about real politic.
Yeah.
Real politic really speaks to the realism
Yes.
of the
The
situation.
reality.
Yes, the realism of the situation. You see, the system of politics that goes beyond the ideological. That's what real politics is. And so that's why we are talking about conceptualizing. And so when you people come and speak of legalism, where is real politics? And this one is a politician. She has stood. She's standing again. She has stood under one party for one position. She's standing under one party for another position. That's real. Yeah, that's real. That's what happens on the ground. And so real politics is not real about moral or ideological. It's about the real situation on the ground. So President Museveni is the president.
True.
President Trump is the president.
True.
When he goes campaigning, he goes with
All his packs.
absolutely. He doesn't say now, we are going to leave number one.
Yes.
And now
And that's why I'm saying
yes.
the arbiter, the referee,
Yeah, and that's why I've
should
come
be
to
the
Nakuya.
one now.
Because Nakuya
I'm not
says-
saying any one of them is wrong or right, but I'm saying where is the voice of the referee?
That's why I'm coming to Nakuya. You see, Nakuya also says it is the president who appoints the electoral commission, but so who else should appoint?
No, that is a question of the law, but that is part of the rule of
It's a question
law.
of the law.
It's
So
a-
Nakuya, should you go?
It's a question of the law.
Because you are putting on orange, and therefore the police should be paralyzed, and therefore the president should not be presidential and not be protected by the special forces. He should not use fuel or stay at State House because he's a presidential candidate.
I still go and say reasons as to why DF did not front a presidential candidate.
Simply, somebody can argue that it's simply because you knew you had no chance.
No.
It was very simple.
It's because of the intimidations, the intimidations and the materialization of politics.
So why are you standing
At one point,
And why don't you also leave?
should police come in?
At what point? Very good question.
Of all the scenarios you've seen and witnessed as a senior journalist and an investigative journalist,
No, can't allow to
do
be
you
put in a
see
corner
any call
about that.
for police to
I want you to tell, because you're also there.
politics?
If you guys as DF refuse
Because-
not to attend, how come you are there?
No, we are there because already the Electoral Commission is segmenting, is having segmented acts for different political positions. There is a presidential act to control or to order the presidential elections. There is a parliamentary for the members act for the members of parliament, and local government act for the local government leaders. So it's all segmented already. But look, just as I've been asking, we've all seen these scenarios happen. Is there any reason for police to block way when a candidate is going to campaign in a certain destination?
Tell us, is there or is there not?
Has Electoral Commission come in at any point in time to say, look, let the candidate take the shortest route to their destination? Aren't you aware that some candidates are taking choppers to reach their voters? And others are even denied a chance of taking the shortest route to reaching their voters.
A chopper
takes me back.
A chopper is not disruptive, is it?
No, it takes me back to the yardstick that the political analyst and observer was talking about in this political arena. When should police come in? And what should it do? Is it keeping law and order or disrupting the law and order? Is it disturbing the peace or keeping the peace? Do you think it's really important for police to undress a citizen in this election or at this moment?
The police should not
Do you
address
think
anyone at any
it's
time.
important for police to put down thorns so that others do not pass? Has the Electoral Commission anyway come out to speak about these acts?
Has the opposition done anything wrong? Is the opposition saintly? You people, are you saintly?
Okay, to me, it hasn't done anything wrong.
Okay.
Because if I'm taking this route, if I'm going to Masaka, let me say to Social Center Masaka, and I'm on the road, why do you want me to reach the welcome and first go to Mbarara, then pass Rakai and come back to Social Center? Yet it was so easy for me. I've reached the welcome, I'm going straight in Nyendo, I moved to Katwe, and I've reached Social Center. That's what the Electoral Commission is doing.
Is that what is happening?
It's making candidates to move longer distances so that they don't even have time to explain or produce or give their electorates the message they want to give them. This has been done to Honorable Nandla Mafabi. You saw him complaining. The same thing has happened to Robert Chagulanyi. You saw him complaining. But what has the Electoral Commission in its mandate done? What has been its response? This takes us to the question, is it independent or not? Is it working for some people or working for Ugandans? Is it manning an election or it's under control of someone else manning the election? The issue is not the law, but the issue is the law followed. Is the law implemented? Where it's not implemented, what has been done? Why do you think that Ugandans are having so many questions about some candidates? This one has taken this route, and this one is not allowed to take this route. It is okay for this one to move with their sound, and this one is not okay. This one, it's okay for this one's supporters to even go ahead and obstruct the other person's supporters, and the Electoral Commission is still silent. What could it be like if at all President Museveni is entering Buganda region and we come out boldly and stop him from entering? What would it be like? Do you think it could be business as usual? If Chagulanyi is just eating maize with the electorates where he is gone, and that's already the Electoral Commission is coming out to boldly say it's not proper.
But you said it has done nothing.
No, the Electoral Commission in this case is coming out to say that for Chagulanyi to eat maize with his electorates is not proper. But it's not coming out to say...
But Nakuya, you are being disingenuous. The Electoral Commission did not say that, for God's sake.
What did it say about that?
Did the Electoral Commission talk about maize?
It did.
Really?
It did.
That's not true.
It did.
No, it's not true.
It commented on that.
It didn't comment on maize.
Maybe you go back and check.
Yeah.
Or I'll do that.
And we are going to do that. And we have to go for a break now on the point of maize. The point of eating maize. I want us to take a break now and we take some water. But when we come back, we are going to take it from
Maybe
there.
you should send for maize down.
I'm not sure there is any more maize on the street this time. But
We shall buy this time the maize from the supermarket. Maybe it is the one of the street which was...
But when we come back,
causes chaos.
Eron, I'm coming to you. You see, I want you to be thinking, this opposition, is it saintly? Really, is it just the police that is rogue completely and their hands must be tied? These are the questions. Must the police cease being the police and keeping law and order because we are in an election period? These are the questions that we are going to respond to as soon as we come back from the break. And please, our viewers, don't go away. We'll be back very quickly.
away from sin, you better do so, because sin has the same consequences wherever it is.
The only magic soap that we can ever have in the world is the blood of Jesus. Because the moment I accept Christ, that blood immediately washes it. I love that song that says, Jesus paid it all to him I owe.
Everything good you do, to one in the household of faith, blessed, you'll become 100-fold. Visit your clergy, visit your preacher, visit your bishop, care for them, stand with them, visit your archbishop, take care of him. All those of the household of faith, when you do that, God will multiply bountifully back to you, because you are honoring God and you are honoring His word.
Prayer is where we get connection with God through Jesus. Prayer is very important for our unity as believers. But also, as we go through a lot of challenges in this world, the only way to overcome them is to have a time with our God.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. The Ballot 2026 on Family TV, Church of Uganda Family TV. Baguma Richard is the host, and in studio Nakuya Aidah, who is aspiring to be Member of Parliament for Kampala on the Democratic Front ticket. Yes. And we want to emphasize again that her top is orange.
Is her color.
Yeah.
She started
the top which she's putting on is orange. It must not be seen on the screen as anything else.
Why is she DP and in the color of General Muntu?
Eron Kiiza is an advocate of the High Court. So he's an environmentalist, he's an activist. Kiiza and Company advocates, and oh no, it's not Kiiza and Company, it's Kiiza and Mujisha advocates, and of course another lawyer in studio who is also a journalist. You know, they used to call me former journalist, so I don't know if he's still an active one, also former, but he's veteran.
Once a journalist,
always a journalist.
Always a journalist, like once a lawyer, you are always a lawyer. Because you are trained to be one.
Okay.
And that training cannot be taken away.
Okay. So I was not sure whether journalist is by occupation or by profession or by both.
It is a both.
Okay. But Eron, before we went, I promised the viewers that you are going to tell us from your own perspective. So should there be police work paralysis because we are in an election period? Should the agencies of government that do law and order should they be scared to touch anybody because they are involved in the political and election related work?
The simple answer is no. That's why we expected police to arrest the people who were wielding canes in Chiruhura, but police is still exercising willful blindness to death, even when we tell them every day. That's why we expect the police to arrest people who are threatening Ugandans. You should have dealt with a soldier who was campaigning. Soldiers are not supposed to be partisan. So no, we don't expect police to fold its arms and become irrelevant just because there is an election. What we do not expect police to do also is to become an agent of or a police wing of NRM, which is what it is trying to exhibit itself to be. Looking at red and it sees blood. Looking at people singing, people power, and it sees people who are doing military drills. It is, they should not criminalize.
Somebody was arrested for drilling? Huh? Did you go drilling?
Yeah. One of them is Olivia Rutaya, but there are others, even I think Alex Mufunda and so on and so forth. So it has become dangerous, as dangerous putting on the NUP uniform as it was the last election, putting on the NUP beret. So you don't know what and the bad face starts even with when they were enacting not starts, but was also seen in the parliament when they were enacting the amended UPDF Act. They had put in some shoes, ordinary shoes, that these are, if you were seen putting on these shoes, until there was an amendment and they said maybe unless there's a stamp. So we don't want an NRM police, simply said. We want a police that enforces the law. Everyone benefits when police is tough on crime and the causes of crime, if I may remember the phrasing of Tony Blair. Once police is fair-minded, is even-minded, Ugandans are not foolish. They will see that whoever commits a crime, crosses the line, police apprehends them. That's what we want. What we don't want is partisan policing, bias policing, even if it is the president has a party. We don't want police to think that they are supposed to be the police of that party. No, the police are paid by Ugandans. They are supposed to be professional. They are supposed to respect fundamental human rights as required of them by the Constitution. And they are supposed to inspire confidence. Because if they are not professional, the intelligence they need comes from Ugandans. They will not get that intelligence. And also they need a happy relationship between themselves as an institution and the public. Their primary customer is the public. They need to serve it professionally. They need to protect the public. They need to protect the property of the public. This, what she was talking about, Aidah, of police being interested in the breasts of the women, of young ladies, is completely unprofessional. And we hope that policemen who have been found at the wrong end of mistreating NUP supporters should be, the police should take them to the police standards unit and deal with them. We have the unfortunate incident of police denying lawyers access to their clients, like you saw in Barara. Since Friday until Sunday, they were not able to see them until they were distributed to other parts. So that's not policing, that's politicking, but it is ugly politics, because police should not be in politics. But if some policemen want to join politics, they are free, but the route is through the resignation. You shouldn't have your cake and you can't eat your cake and have it. Either you choose police or you choose being part of NRM. You have to choose. You shouldn't be doing both. Yes.
But you see, okay.
But to your question of if you want to know whether the opposition are saints, they are not. They are not saints in Uganda here. There are some opposition people who commit crimes, but and they should be dealt with when they commit crimes. Being in opposition or being in NRM is not a license for committing crimes, because then that would be, it would even show that you're a wrong guy, because we don't want criminals in politics, because soon they become criminals in government, and that's part of all these problems we are having, because the current government is full of former thieves, current thieves, former guerrillas who are like bandits who gathered together and overthrew using force. And now we have not untangled ourselves from the rule of the gun. For over 30 years, Ugandans have been trying to wrestle power from the gun to people power, civilian control. Ugandans have so far failed. Because the 1995 Constitution was supposed to be a watershed moment with a watershed legal instruments to midwife and superintend over the transfer of power from the gun to the people. The real politic is that it didn't. So we need people who are law-abiding, who believe in the rule of law, who believe in democracy, who believe in constitutionalism, in charge of the affairs of the state. Criminals are not, by the performance of the NRM government. The NRM government is the best example or the best indicator or the best model showing you that criminals are dangerous in power.
So, while we talk about the Electoral Commission as the arbiter or whatever, there is an ultimate arbiter. And you are an advocate of that. There's an ultimate arbiter, the courts of law. Where are they? They are. We are talking about law and order in the election.
The courts, there is nothing as vulnerable to real politics as courts, because courts their performance depends on the political climate. If there is no rule of law, then the courts themselves really, they find themselves unable to perform optimally. Okay, this is what I mean. The political climate of a country, atmosphere, determines very many things. And in a military dictatorship, which is what we are in, you cannot have an independent judiciary, and therefore you cannot have an independent and fair arbiter of electoral disputes. Courts are relevant in democracies. In dictatorships, they are mere appendages of the military dictatorship or of a political dictatorship. Like here we have a military dictatorship, but in countries like Ruto is also a dictator, but you may call him just a political dictator because he has no military credentials. So once you have...
What about the neighbor in Tanzania?
Suluhu. Suluhu actually is, it even defies the definition. He's even beyond the military dictators. Suluhu is just a murderer, a mass murderer. I don't know if ICC has a job, still wants a job, they need to make an example of people like Suluhu. Suluhu, no, she's too much. She's too much because while we have dictators here, they are sophisticated. Suluhu doesn't even know how to murder. Like, she's brazen, she's so, like, she disproportionately, randomly, engaged in wholesale commission of crime. No, the Suluhu now is, it makes Suluhu makes Museveni look like, an angel. Maybe not an angel, but like a normal civilian. So the ultimate arbiter is not ultimate because the claimants to make them ultimate does not exist here. But in an ideal situation, courts would be, you can see courts are trying to rein in Trump. Courts were able to rein in Zuma when he became Berserk in South Africa. Here, no.
But what, yeah, also maybe just to add,
okay.
Not like what you said, but you asked an important question: the position of the courts in our election system. There is our legal system is we don't have, the courts don't have suamoto powers. There's something we call in law suamoto powers, that they cannot intervene of themselves. You have to you have to file a case if there is a complaint that you have. So if you are aggrieved as a party, then you have to file a case, and otherwise minus that, they cannot intervene. They are supposed to be, they are supposed to be onlookers, innocent onlookers, and wait. Then when you file with your evidence, that is when they act. So I think that's to really answer you, to add to answering your question. So you cannot, whatever is happening, you cannot bring it upon court and lay it in front of them and say that, please, can you intervene? Intervene on what? There is no case before us. There is no complaint. Nobody is aggrieved.
But that does not sound to me like what Eron just said.
He was clear. He was not saying what I said.
Yeah. because see, what Eron says is that all of you, officers of court and court, you are you have been rendered irrelevant, literally. Yeah, you have no role to play here. You are just, your hands are tied. You are an officer of court, Odongotho. Should we just dismiss you?
I am not an advocate. I am a lawyer. trained as a lawyer 4 years at Makerere University Law School, but I have not gone to LDC in order to practice, to adjudicate, I mean to go to court, but I can do all those things that lawyers do, including defending the rule of law and all that, defending justice legally and all that. But can I even risk to say, yes, the courts don't have a role to play in election violence issues as long as it has not been brought to them. It has not been filed, no complaint has been raised, they don't have. No, that's how our legal system is.
Nakuya, I think, Nakuya, you have a different view of that one. No. That even where complaints are brought, they are not being handled.
That is what Eron answered. Eron answered the part of when complaints are brought, so he gave his view or opinion of what he thinks about the standard of handling when complaints are brought.
And I can give you an example. There was a victim of the electoral violence in Kawempe. Narukora was Kawempe South.
Kawempe North. Yes, Nalukora.
He goes there, he's beaten, the journalists are beaten, and the candidate of the beaters sues him.
Petitions, yes.
And what annuls his election, the election of the victim of the beaten. So the way the system works, yet people who were like Narukora, like many years before, who were suing, they were not succeeding. Who were victims but didn't win because he was a victim, and despite being victimized, he won. And then the electoral challenge of the culprits succeeded in annulling his election. He was unreceived, but it was too close to the national election, and there was no time. And by appealing, the appeal process is naturally slow. It couldn't help the beater or the culprit. The other times you have seen, all the times that this challenged the presidential elections, there was one sentence which even a border man would know that the Supreme Court is going to return. It's going to say, yeah, we know. They were wrong
substantial.
Things. They were wrong things, but they were not substantial. Yes, you were beaten.
That's the law. But
we say the rule of law is not the same thing as the law. You know, there was apartheid law. That was not rule of law. There was a law which Hitler used to advance Nazi. That was not rule of law. There was law, even now there is a law which Russia is using to bombard Ukraine. There is right law under which Netanyahu is bombing people. Rule of law is beyond the existence of law. Or what? It goes also on the quality of law. Whether it advances justice, constitutionalism, democracy, fundamental human rights, and whether the law creates an atmosphere for the ultimate habitat to be the courts, which are independent courts, and people can access justice in a fair manner, and ministers do not depend, or public officials do not use their discretion, but the law which is equally applied. It has no room for arbitrariness. Rule of law has no room for unfairness. Rule of law has no room for a skewed playing ground. It is for a level playing ground. So if a law creates an unfair conditions, then that's not rule of law. It's ruled by law. But that's also a euphemism for dictatorship, for tyranny, for so many things.
Nakuya.
Yes, please.
As a practitioner, would you go to the judiciary? Do you have a political practitioner? Because for you are in the political field. Would you feel a reason to go?
What I wanted to bring up is before we put court on the guillotine for hanging, we should also look at...
For you, it is only for hanging.
In the court of media discussion, the court of law is for hanging.
Before we put it there, we should also look at the ministry under which it falls. And that's the same ministry that takes the Electoral Commission. And you do not forget the thing I began with. Who heads that ministry? How does that person get the powers to head that ministry? And it also brings us to the judges. How do they get into where they are? And how do they practice their duties? The way they get where they are to practice their duties, does it affect how they practice their duties? You have to look at that. That's what I'm telling you, that this period of elections in Uganda became a ritual. And today, if you ask a question whether the opposition is, whether we are saints or something of the sort, you should ask yourself whether in February 1981, Museveni was a saint to go to the bush for a rigged election, which was not even his. I wonder whether he actively participated.
In what?
In that election.
He did.
Was he a candidate?
Yeah, he was.
Did he win?
I don't know.
Was he a first runner-up?
I'm not sure. I don't know the results. But I know that he participated.
He participated.
There is evidence that he participated.
Candidate.
Thanks for the participation. But do you think he was a saint to run to the bush?
I'm not sure that I should be answering your questions, first of all, because that's not the role of the moderator to answer.
Because the same thing,
the
the same thing
on you.
the same thing brings
That's the opposition.
as a practitioner.
You brought opposition to studio, please don't.
No, I think now you are in real politics. It has no standards.
Yeah, but I mean, you should really be telling us.
The yardstick is
For you
not
to
clear.
go and contest an election, whether in the bush or elsewhere, are you a saint?
So today, to go into an election, there are two things that people are looking for, and they always look at them. And we are always told about this. As you go into an election, you're aiming at winning. But as you're gathering your votes, please...
Only winning.
It's paramount that you go for a win. But as you're doing
I
that...
disagree.
Imagine if you didn't go for a win, why would you go?
No. Election is like sports.
No.
It's like football.
Some of us
You go knowing that there are two results, possibility. You may win, which should be your main objective, but you could lose,
No, you have
which is what you should have at the
I'm
back of
aiming
your
at
mind.
my main
You have
objective.
changed her parameters, and I want to protect her and allow her to continue. She says she goes for
A win
not what she knows, but what she goes for.
is
the
a
win.
win.
That's what she goes
And
for.
as I'm looking for my votes, I'm also gathering for evidence that I'll base in case
I lose.
I lose.
Now you have
That
come
evidence
towards me.
is to be put to court. So the entire process moves as it may. But unless court is petitioned or someone files a case to court, the rest is background noise for the judges or for whoever is in chief of the courts. But there are players that have to come out at any point in point in this period. Actually, the chairperson electoral commission has to give us a daily or weekly brief on how he's viewing this whole process, to tell us how the candidates are faring, because he's responsible for those candidates. The electoral commission is fully responsible, and mostly the presidential candidates. It's fully responsible. He has to come and give us a brief on the way he's viewing the entire process, how it is moving. Where are the hiccups?
But is what,
Where do we need that?
what the law says about the chairman.
It may not be what the law says about the chairman of the electoral commission, but in the execution of its duties, you remember, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it on behalf of Ugandans. And any unfolding in the event, Ugandans want to hear what you're saying about that. So on any mismanagement of this process, Ugandans want to know, what is the chairperson of the electoral commission talking about this? What is the ministry of, the minister, what is the position of the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs in this? Because what creates the unfairness is what brings him on board.
But if if no one is petitioning
No,
to them,
to the Electoral Commission,
should they just be jumping on
to
it?
the Electoral Commission, people have made alarms. People have made alarms. Let me tell you, we are here sitting on this panel, and and people are there watching. They don't know what is happening behind the scenes. But if the program coordinator or the camera personnel jumps in alarm, before we even know what is chasing him, we'll all stand up and run. Even when we know that where we are going there is no door, we shall stand up in fear. It's only this country where concerned people, citizens alarm, and concerned officials remain silent. They are never worried. They are never scared. After all, I'm fulfilling the role of my master.
Eron says in
So
Tanzania,
it brings back. No, Tanzania, it's not the same. It's not the same. We saw a man in uniform calling out Tanzanians from wherever they are and alerting them on what's happening. By the time the state thought of deleting everything, it had already saturated. But here we are, seeing police that is meant to keep law and order campaigning for a certain candidate, and the Electoral Commission is comfortably sitting. Here we are, seeing police doing by the way, it has not begun with this regime. The problem is that we forget so fast. Even during the regime of Engineer Chigundu, it was the same, you recall.
What happened?
Hey, what don't Ugandans recall? In 2011,
Fine Professor Engineer.
in 2011, who was the chairperson?
The fine Professor Engineer.
And by the time the policeman was he Alin Nitwe, the one who hit Kano's car, who hammered Kano's car and sprayed his entire face. What did he say? I was part of the campaign trail of Dr. Kano Kiza in 2016. We just reached Kampala Road, Ginger Road, the lights. And doctor wanted to take this route, and police insisted he should take the other route. As he took the route which he wanted to use, they sprayed blue pepper on all of us. Bullets were shot. And the engineer was comfortably sitting in his chair and waiting to declare final and what he believes are the right results. So it's upon us Ugandans, and mostly we in the opposition, to come up, team up, and fight for some things. If we do not do that, we will remain in campaigns when we are just alarming and no one will give us attention.
Now you have ushered us into the way forward, and that's always what I want to come to every time I am in a discussion like this one. So okay, we have done a diagnosis of the things that have gone wrong, the things that are not going right, and so apart from that, what next? What happens? Nakuya will keep standing in a very unfair environment. She will keep bringing herself back. She now comes as FDC. The other day she will come as DF. Maybe another formation will come. What, Nakuya? Do we come here, speak about it, and go away? Is that enough? Do you have things that you think should happen?
The fact that I'm standing and not giving up, it alone gives it credibility that I'm doing something. The fact that I'm coming out to speak about it and educating the masses that are watching, and most probably I'm educating the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, because I believe he may be even watching. We are doing that role here. The officers are watching because they know the topic we are talking about today is sensitive. I'm doing something. When I enter Parliament, I want to fight for the constitution and electoral reforms first. We have to work upon that if we still believe in transitional, in a peaceful transitional transfer of power. we must have electoral reforms on board. Other than that, it will never be peaceful. We must fight for that. We must put our hands, irrespective of the party that you subscribe to. But even the NRM needs the reforms.
So that it can get out of power.
No, not everyone who is in the NRM is so happy of what's happening. If you take them by secret ballot to vote between an injustice and a justice, everyone views it in that angle. If they see, but most of the people out there, for the politicians already have positions, they may be even so much comfortable in their positions that they no longer see anything wrong. But for the common man, the Ugandan who has sovereignty, who has full powers to exercise in this election, who has the right to vote, and they want to see their vote being counted right, when you ask them, between this and this, vote for what is right, they will show you what is right.
And they have been showing it in their lives over the different election periods. They have been voting, haven't they?
That leaves my head shaking.
Why is the head shaking?
It leaves it doing that. I don't know why it was automatic. It just came as a reflex action. Because sometimes it will push me to asking you and making you be part of a panelist, and I become a journalist.
Let's hear the question.
I ran away from that because I'm already...
Let's hear the question.
I'm already put at that point.
You have been participating in this election. In fact, you are an elected official. Yeah. So, the way forward, we are going to continue having elections. We are going to have you sitting in those councils, getting allowances, and life will be going on for you guys. If
I'm here with you, and you not being a journalist, and you being a Ugandan, frankly Ugandan, and real Ugandan, and I put an injustice here, and I put justice here, what do you go for?
Let me tell you, no one goes for injustice. But I am also telling you that the election, which you seem to dismiss, is the one which has put
the person who commits an injustice, the person who commits an injustice goes for what?
But you are, from what you are telling me, that you are being cancelled, you are being an elected official is an injustice. That's what you seem to be telling me.
How is that an injustice?
Of an election. So explain why do you keep participating in these elections and getting elected and taking up office? Why?
One of the things that dictators do is to intimidate, is to bogus the elections so that credible people run out of that. And the biggest thing that deters people with credibility, like council, to participate in elections is not money. No, it's not money.
Doesn't have money.
No, it's not money. It's not money. But it's the fear for what will happen to him in the entire process, if he's to be frank. And the reason as to why you also do not want to participate fully and be a candidate is still because of the fear that I hate those things. They're just bogus. It's one of the...
We call it these days a game for pigs.
You understand that? So you'll find elites and credible people fearing to come and join this and join us.
The sheep will not join the pigs in the mud.
So
he said it right.
So I don't agree with you, Charles.
No, that is what they say out there.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was going to say there are so many elected officials, 3 million of them in Uganda. How can we classify all of them as pigs? Charles,
no,
we are not being fair.
No, the English say one frog spoils the water, the broth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are not all pigs, but but you see, Charles,
it's just a reference.
I know.
Yeah.
But you see, here we are on the panel. We have talked about all the problems, but we have an election coming up. We are telling our viewers, please go for the election. From what you are saying, it's like they should not go. Charles, is that the way forward?
No, that's not the way forward. The way You know, I personally would describe the way forward in many ways. One is, at the personal level, I love peace, I love stability. I am a very interesting student of Uganda's politics and history, right from, and you know, I belong to, I don't know about, certainly not Eron, I think, and our candidate. I think for them they were born after, a little after. But for us who are children of the Amin era, you understand, those of us born in the mid-70s, but generally Amin 71, 79, and the coming years, and the following years, sorry. Some of us had the misfortune, we were born somehow with the silver spoons in our mouth, and then immediately Amin took Uganda to where he took it, south. We found ourselves in trouble. Our parents had to run into exile, and we were toddlers in exile, which was not a very good thing. And we lost fortunes, good education, we had to run. Personally, my dad was serving in the Uganda Air Force. We were living in Gulu, senior officers' place, quarters, and then we had to run into Congo, and we saw our parents, we had bad experiences where we saw our parents frog jumped, you know, by people in Tatars in Congo, you know, very primitive soldiers from the other side. And that was a common thing to many people in West Nile, to many Ugandans even in Central and across other parts of Uganda. So why do I say that? I say that because whenever I see a semblance of lack of stability, a semblance of, you know, friction being, you know, coming up, I get a little worried. And I don't want that, you see, because nobody benefits from lack of stability in a country. You saw what has been happening in Tanzania. The other day we discussed the calm elections, and I would want it to be that way. By and large, it had been well for the last 1 month, until we saw what we are seeing in Western Uganda, which should not be the case. So for me, I think when we are looking at the future way forward, we need to look at that. And I go back to, for me, when I analogize the issue of sports, I look at politics as football, and I played football in my youthful age until I got injured. And all the time that you see the beauty about football, you see erstwhile, you know, opponents, let's say Arsenal and Man U. You see the players hugging themselves,
and we have
talking
Arsenal
to
and
each other.
Man U on the panel.
Oh yes, you know, I am an Arsenal ardent supporter. Even when it is Liverpool and Man City, they will greet each other, they will hug each other. Even the commanders, the managers. For me, that's how I look at, to give that analogy of football or sports, I use it to politics as well.
So we should
can't we?
Should be sportsizing politics.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, so that we enjoy it. So that we enjoy it. Do you know what I have been really enjoying in this year's campaigns? I have seen so much discussion of policy, discussion of issues from the major 4 candidates in my view that I've so far picked. Candidate Museveni is discussing issues on his campaign. Our candidate here may say that he has been discussing the same thing for a long time, but there are issues: infrastructure development, wealth creation,
I did not say that.
issues of patriotism. I'm just saying an example. Issues of Pan-Africanism, the values of it. Those are issues. Corruption, talk about it. You can criticize it, but those are issues, policy issues. Candidate Kyagulanyi is talking about, he talked about, I think, wealth creation as well. He has talked about corruption. He's talking about infrastructure. And I have enjoyed, this time I've enjoyed his message. I think he sends a team that establishes prior to his coming what is the issue in that area. Last week he was talking about Irish potato among my in-laws, the Erons, among the Bachiga. They're the biggest producers of Irish potato. And he's saying, why should the government that has been in power for 40 years not have established something that can even make crisps, you know, good crisp for children, which is a high marketed commodity for our young people. That's a very good policy issues, industries. Then candidate Mugisha Muntu is talking about corruption, about infrastructure development. He's talking about stability. Candidate Nandala Mafabi has been talking about wealth creation. Never mind, forget about his fund. The funny thing about him that has come in this election, when he said that if you don't vote for me, vote for Museveni. Now, that's the interesting bit about it. Now, those 4 candidates are all discussing issues. Now, if you have candidates discussing issues like that, issues that affect the country, you can say, let's imagine that one of them wins, okay? Then you will have all those issues taken up. And for me, that is what I would want to see. Now, so for me, I want the arbiter
As you wind up,
to take control. Even if, like in the case of violence, where security is involved, even if you do it for purposes of accountability, at least pretend. Address the media and say, we have had this situation, elections, management is within my remit, and I am calling upon all the candidates to keep by the guideline. You remind them, these are the guidelines. Then you tell the police, please, let's have some level of restraint, but candidates should be supported. This is our role, and let us manage. Then you give hope, because election, and then to the different parties. For me, to the different parties, my appeal is, even the leading, the leading ruling party currently, election is about winning the minds and the hearts of the people. It's about creating the perception. If you create a perception, like now people are saying that the reason why Kyagulanyi is being disturbed, candidate Kyagulanyi is being disturbed in West, is because you thought he doesn't have support, and therefore you are trying to frustrate his campaign. That is a wrong perception, but you create it because of the nature of handling. So create the right perception, create the right, win the right minds and the right hearts, and you will get the victory. For me, that's what I would want to see.
Eron.
And I would want to see a peaceful election.
Eron, we have dissected, diagnosed the problem. Every time we apply a healing knife, if I go to darkness at home, we seem to be having an exacerbation of the problem. What would you say? What would you want to happen? What is it you want to happen? That we have rule of law and we have an election based on the rule of law?
I mean, it's simple. You cannot, you must change this government. You cannot have rule of law when Museveni is still in power. So figure out how to remove Museveni and his military dictatorship. Then you can chart a new forward. It's not going to be possible. Even this election in which Museveni is a participant, in which Museveni is both a participant and the ultimate arbiter of, it's a farce. We are papering over the cracks. We are we are barely scratching the surface. So there is no democratic way forward with a military dictator being accommodated in it. People who want a new Uganda, who want rule of law, who are really interested, must think hard and long on how to remove Museveni from the equation, from the power. Of course, Museveni and his son, the CDF, has also demonstrated incompatibility with rule of law and democracy. So those are the two primary obstacles to the democratization process in Uganda. We must figure out how to exclude them. The Tanzanians tried and failed with horrible consequences. Hopefully Ugandans do a better job when they finally rise up. Guerrilla methods are no longer helpful. They don't even deliver democracies. The Museveni project clearly boomeranged. We are here suffering for the many years. We are trying to get rid of them unsuccessfully. Elections will not get rid of them. So people have to think of, is it an Arab Spring style but people must take charge of this country. They themselves use their numbers, get rid of the dictators, and establish a new order in which the military has no role in governance. It's kept in the barracks, and the civilians who are professional, who are accountable, who are not violent, run the show, and periodically are checked in free and fair elections, not this drama that we are being subjected to.
Okay, Egypt, Sudan, wherever, we have had these springs. The springs have not brought babes of spring. They have actually brought no beds, but
that's why
thorns.
That's why
I'm not sure that's the solution.
That's why I've said you must figure out how to exclude the military from sabotaging and overrunning the civilians. Once you have that kind of revolutions, and then you give a military even 1 inch, they will kick you out, and that's what happened actually specifically in Egypt, but also in some other areas. So the military is not a big ally in democratizing Uganda. It's a major problem that people must see how to exclude from politics, so that the military, whoever is in the military and wants to participate in politics, first resigns and quits the army and joins as a civilian, the way Besigye tried. But if you create a situation whereby you have generals in the cabinet, that's the death and the end of democracy. Kenya is trying, and it shows you that where there is a constitution and you put civilians in charge, there will be problems, because there are many problems in Kenya, but it's much better. It's not comparable to Uganda or Tanzania, where you have military calling the shots.
Nakuya Aidah, you seem to be involved in a very futile exercise from the discussions we have. We are just writing on water. The election is not going to deliver what the Democratic Front wants.
Basing on what Council has said, that the only remedy is getting Museveni out of power. There are so many ways we can do this, and there is a coup, which so far we have not yet believed in. Revolution we have not yet. We still believe in democratic means of getting him out of power. And the only gift Ugandans can give them to themselves in this election is fronting as many members of parliament who are opposition as possible. So that even when Museveni is president in parliament, he's not in the lead. We want him to be in parliament with the leader of opposition.
You want the NRM
to be the opposition in parliament,
leader of opposition.
to be the minority
If I
in parliament.
temporarily be the host, at KCCA we have a majority no.
I wanted to rate her first continue and say, but
No,
at
he-
KCCA, you have an opposition parliament. We don't see results from it.
You know, it also takes us back on the quality versus quantity. Which quality? What's the quality of councillors that are there in that government? And are you sure
But that's democracy.
they are really?
They were elected by the people. So we want to have, if I may use Eron's thing, we want to have our cake, but we also want to eat it. We don't want Museveni as president, so we want to stop the people from their choice.
What I'm trying to mean.
We have councillors in council, and we say they are not quality, but
What I'm
elected by
trying
the people.
what I'm bringing to the face of Ugandans is not a political party. That's what I say, the opposition.
And also,
If I may be right,
you see, he also fails to know that the system is rigged. In the current system, it is even impossible to bring quality councillors you're talking about because of the commercialization.
Of
it
politics.
goes to the highest bidder, so that even an opposition candidate needs 500 million to win.
So
he becomes.
So the ones who can afford are not qualitative. That's what you're saying.
You're talking about, you cannot purchase democracy.
Exactly.
So what you are saying is that the ones who can afford, there is no quality. I just want to be guided if that's what I understood.
we are saying, once democracy is a good that can be bought, then you exclude many potential and good people who are there, but also the debt must be paid. These people who are buying are not using their money, but also it denudes you of the basis for holding them to account. They will account to the donors, to the credit institutions, not to the people, because after all, it's not the people who are bought that took them to parliament or council.
So we have
their money.
So I'm giving you a minute each because that's what we have. Your final minute. So should we participate in elections or not?
We must.
Participate in elections.
Giving up is not an option.
Okay.
When you give up, you're digging a deep grave for your children. And any elite who is watching me today, who is saying I cannot participate in this is the reason as to why some of us are suffering and others are enjoying our taxes.
So we should participate.
We must. It's a must. And if there is any turn up of an election that we need, is this. But when you're voting, look for what is right.
Vote wisely.
Don't exchange your gold for salt.
And
To
in the case
all
of
the
Kampala,
electorates,
on the face of Kampala Central,
it's a special case, Nakuya Aidah.
we know.
You know what to
that
do.
is right. Eron, should we therefore, should we go and participate in this election at all?
I mean, it's up to you, but there is a case for participating in elections. We're aware of the limitations of elections. I don't want you to participate in an election wrongly thinking that this is a messianic exercise that will answer the problems of the country. Participate knowing that this is a platform for conscientizing the citizenry, so at the right time when you call on them to hit the streets, to take the action that will actually matter, they have received your message. After all, this is the only period where, even with the limitation that exists, you are allowed to reach the people. Without an election calendar, most opposition people are not even allowed to campaign in Soro, in Karamoja, in Nebi. So participate in an election, but knowing that it is not the answer. It is part of the process you can use to arrive at the answer.
Doctor, this is the same question in the last minute.
I will answer that question with a quote from Martin Luther King. Is quoted to have said something which I like. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, move. But by all means, keep moving. Why do I say so? Life is always being tested. Democracy is not a destination. You see it failing in the US, you see it failing in the UK, in other countries that are perceived to be better than us. We must keep testing democracy and stretch it, and that we must keep moving by all means. We cannot say now, and that's why I like what Aaron says, that despite the criticism, which is good in a democratic society, it's part of the rule of law, you know, open society, transparency, accountability, that we are better than what people have been, some neighbors have been pretending. We are better than them. Chagulanyi is campaigning, General Muntu, Nandala Mafabi, they are campaigning against the incumbent president. They call him dictator, but they are campaigning. There are gaps, you know, valleys here and hills to climb, but let us keep pushing the threshold. One day it will be better than what is today, certainly better than what was yesterday. So let's keep moving.
Absolutely. And I think it validates the essence of this program. The program, the Ballot 2026. And like I said at the beginning, I say at the end, this is to motivate you. This is to inspire you. This is to appeal to you that please participate in the election, the Ballot 2026. That there is no other way, or well, probably there will be other ways, but one of the most important ways that is available to us to influence our current and future affairs as a nation is to participate in the election. And I must thank you, Aidah Nakuya, thank you so much, and I wish you luck in your quest for the Kampala Central MP seat, and thanks for coming and giving us your time. Eron Kiiza, thank you for coming, environmentalist, lawyer, poet, advocate and my Muko. And your Muko. Charles Odongotho, journalist, lawyer, political observer, and Baguma Richard saying good night, and please keep engaged with the issues of the election and prepare to participate in the pre-election processes and the election itself. Good night, and thank you for tuning in. May God bless you.
The views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of this television or its management, but as of individuals as we hear them. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Movie Zone.
Raise up those that love you and seek you and trust you. Lord, we need a